The Yamato, the pride of the Imperial Japanese Navy and the largest and most powerful battleship in history. You know the basic story, but what about the forgotten history, the details and stories that most have overlooked? In this video, we will dive into the history, test your knowledge, and uncover the details and facts that many have overlooked. So here are 5 things you likely never knew about the battleship Yamato. If you enjoy the stories of the great naval legends like the Yamato, you will love this video's sponsor, World of Warships. World of Warships is an immersive and insanely realistic naval warfare game for PC and console that is second to none. And if you can believe it, it's totally free to play. As you battle on the high seas, you'll be blown away with the amazing graphics and brand new content that is added every single month. Choose from tons of different ships across multiple classes and nations, with each one being historically detailed down to the smallest feature. Personally, I prefer battleships because nothing really beats good old-fashioned firepower. And to make it even better, starting in October, all players will have access to the exclusive Captain's Club, where they can receive special discounts from World of Warships partners. So if you can hear the ocean calling your name, use the link down below to download World of Warships totally free. Use promo code BRAVO to get a huge starter pack including 500 doubloons, 1.5 million credits, 7 days of premium account, and a free ship. So support TJ3 History and join World of Warships today. Now, without further ado, enjoy. To start our list today, let's jump to 1942, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. In the history of the Yamato, much has been covered about the design and building of the famous warship. So we will skip beyond most of that, straight to her debut in World War II. This would be at the famous Battle of Midway in June, where the Yamato was part of the fleet that led the surprise attack that famously backfired for the rising sun. And here we arrive at our first question. Make sure you keep track of how many you get correct and comment your score at the end of this video. So for our first question, now that we know that she was at Midway, what did the Yamato do in this battle? A. She fired upon Midway Island in support of the invasion. B. Was hit by a bomb from an SBD Dauntless. C. Fired upon American destroyers. Or D. Absolutely nothing. The correct answer here is D. Absolutely nothing. This is because the Yamato was part of the main body of Admiral Yamamoto's fleet, which was secretly approaching from a different direction to hopefully catch the American fleet in a crossfire between the carriers and the surface fire from battleships like the Yamato. But unfortunately, with the code-breaking and disastrous attack at Midway, the Japanese quickly realized that this force would stand little chance of success now that their carriers were gone, so they turned tail and fled back towards Japan. Thus, the Yamato never actually saw action in the Battle of Midway, despite being a part of the main fleet and being the flagship from which Admiral Yamamoto himself commanded the battle. It was simply not meant to be, and so she steamed home with no contribution ever made. Now, we know that the Yamato did not fire its guns at the enemy at Midway, and if you can believe it, she actually wouldn't fire her guns for the rest of 1942, or even 1943. In fact, the Yamato would only fire its main battery at enemy surface targets one single time in her career. For all of 1942 and 43, the Japanese Navy was essentially saving the Yamato for a major naval surface battle that never happened. And this brings us to question number 2. What was the battle in which the Yamato did open fire on surface targets? A. The Battle of Leyte Gulf. B. The Battle of Coral Sea. C. The Battle of the Philippine Sea. Or D. The Battle of Rabaul. The correct choice here is A. The Battle of Leyte Gulf in October of 1944. And specifically, the engagement that this took place in would be the Battle off Samar on October 25th. Here, the Japanese successfully lured away the main American fleet with a decoy, leaving a smaller portion of their fleet, Taffy 3, which consisted of 6 escort carriers and 4 destroyers. Here, the Yamato opened fire with her massive main battery and rained shells upon the small American naval group. She would land a few hits and many near misses as she bombarded the American ships. And if you can believe it, a short while ago, we even had a chance to interview an American pilot who was on one of these very carriers and watched the shelling from the Yamato from the side of his carrier.
And then when they let go of the 18s, you could see it. And then when they come, they hit the water splash, you know. The splash would actually hit the deck. That's how big it is. These big colors, they get the range, they splash and come up, they get up on the deck. So it's a little bit frightening.
But we will save that for another video coming soon, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that one. Unfortunately for the Japanese, however, the use of the Yamato here in the Battle off Samar would be limited, as she eventually pulled back just a few hours after an inaccurate report was given to the Japanese fleet commander. This was likely a misstep, as the Yamato could have dealt serious damage to the exposed American escort carriers. But again, it was not meant to be, and the Japanese opted to play it safe, saving the Yamato for a major naval battle that they were sure would eventually arrive. Following the Battle of Leyte Gulf and the action off Samar, the next and final action that took place with the Yamato would be 6 months later, in April of 1945, sailing towards the island of Okinawa. This was a small stretch of Japanese land in the Pacific that was currently under attack by American forces. Here, the Yamato had been ordered to sail there and defend the small but vital island. And so we arrive at question 3. What was the plan for the Yamato here at Okinawa? A. To bombard the American ships from the deep water. B. To provide an escape for the commanders trapped at the island. C. To provide additional anti-aircraft support. Or D. To beach itself and act as an unsinkable defensive battery. The right choice here is D. Although she was the greatest remaining ship in the Japanese Navy, a desperate plan was put into place for her to try and defend the small but crucial island of Okinawa. Upon arrival here, the Yamato was to be beached so that she could act as a heavily fortified defensive emplacement of heavy artillery and anti-aircraft. But unfortunately for her and her crew, fate would have other ideas. The Allies would intercept a radio transmission with these plans and immediately set out to locate and sink the mighty battleship, well aware that this would be a major blow to Japanese morale should they be able to destroy her. As soon as her location was eventually reported and she was within range, American carriers, including the USS Hornet, the USS Yorktown, the USS San Jacinto, and the USS Essex, along with many others, launched aircraft to strike. These would be primarily F-6F Hellcats, F-4U Corsairs, SB-2C Helldivers, and TBM Avengers. The Helldivers and the Avengers would be the main aircraft of the actual strike force, armed with bombs and torpedoes respectively. That afternoon, 3 different waves arrived over the Japanese force, and you likely know what happened next. In the first wave, the bombers landed multiple hits, crippling her anti-aircraft defenses and killing many of her crew, and then torpedo bombers added to the damage and created a list. In the second, more torpedoes found home and did further damage, creating even more of a list, but still she was afloat. In the third and final wave, the perfect storm of dive bomber strikes around the ship weakened her hull, and then more torpedoes finished the job, damaging her to the point of no return. Over about an hour, the American aircraft pounded the Yamato, with the Japanese giving the order to abandon ship at about 2 p.m. Being the largest and likely toughest battleship ever created, the Yamato did not go down easily, absorbing a massive amount of punishment before it was established that she was indeed finished. And so, our question here directly relates to this punishment. Let's see if you can get it. According to most historians, how many torpedoes was the Yamato hit by in this attack before she eventually sunk? A. 5, B. 8, C. 11, or D. 18? The correct answer here is C. 11 torpedoes. In addition to this, the Yamato was also hit by no less than 6 bombs, with many other near misses causing significant problems that added to the severity of the damage. Following all of this, one of her ammunition magazines eventually exploded in a fire, creating a large mushroom cloud that could be seen from more than 100 miles away. Of the Yamato's crew of 3,332 souls, only 277 would survive, a massive loss for the Japanese Navy both in terms of morale and in lives. And as she is sinking towards the bottom of the Pacific, we have one final question. According to the survivors of the Yamato, what happened to the crew members that were still alive in the water as their mighty battleship went down? A. They were attacked by sharks. B. They were strafed by American aircraft. C. They were picked up by American destroyers. Or D. They committed suicide in the water. The correct answer here, tragically, is B. They were strafed by American aircraft. According to many of the survivors of the Yamato, as they were in the water next to their sinking ship trying to make it to the safety among the other vessels, American fighters came down and opened fire as they swam, killing many of the men that were still alive. Actions like this are not normally remembered by the American side of things, but are completely understandable when we look at the historical context of the war. The Japanese commonly strafed down airmen in the water and in life rafts throughout the entire duration of the war, so showing mercy to these crew members was likely not on the top of the American air crew members' minds. This did, however, reduce the number of survivors from the sinking of the Yamato seriously, leaving less than 10% of the crew alive by the end of the day, with their prized battleship lying at the floor of the Pacific. So, how many questions did you get correct? Comment down below and let's see who really knows their history of the Yamato. And you better be honest. Don't forget to use code BRAVO to download World of Warships today and get your starter pack and all the great freebies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.